Hello and welcome to CIT-111 Introduction to Programming Java. This is an introduction video for the online asynchronous section of CIT-111 taught at Community College of Allegheny County. And the purpose of this video is to give you a brief overview of how the course works and introduce you to our programming environment, which is a web-based tool called Repo, repo.it. So without further ado, let me give you a background on the course. My philosophy is to not use Blackboard. The reason I don't use Blackboard is because I use my own server instead, and that server is located at technologyrediscovery.net. And so let's point our browsers to technologyrediscovery.net. I'll share screen here and move my video over here. So you'll see our familiar starting page, and the link to all of our class resources specific to Java is found in the final column of the schedule, online non-synchronous, meaning there's no scheduled time to meet. It drops you down a little way down the page to the CIT-111 master link area. I call this the master index page. We will be following as close to possible the same schedule or schedule, as they say across the Atlantic, as my in-person, at least for the time being, synchronous section at North Tuesday mornings. And so this schedule pertains to both you and the synchronous class and is organized by week. Normally I teach this class in person over 2 sessions per week. So each week is divided into 2 rows, and the in-person section will roughly follow an hour and a half per session as if it were occurring in person. And online, you can pursue the content of this class whenever you want. And when possible, I will transition and link that content. So when you sit down to do CIT-111, the place to go is this schedule. Scroll down to the current week. So week 1 starts today, Monday, 31st of August. The resources contain links and descriptions to the various pages, mostly within my site, that you'll need to do the week's work. The learning objectives are my place to plan out our goals for the class. And then the out-of-class work is perhaps your most important. And it contains specific instructions for what I'd like you to work on between Monday and Sunday at morning light. So my general work schedule is to do class prep on Sundays. Let's draw this out. So my week starts on Sunday and runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so what I'm asking you to do is think about your work week as running from Monday through Saturday night. So this is your online work period, online work, and then my prep will happen here. The other important thing about this is my plan is to, teacher prep happens there. So my plan is to focus my feedback on the work that you do over the previous week, and to do that on Sundays. So I ask that you try to finish the work by Saturday, the end of Saturday night. If you happen to be like me and you work weird hours, I won't really be starting until Sunday late morning on my classwork. So having stuff ready means I can give you feedback. What you'll notice if you looked at the syllabus is the actual official due date for me to submit a grade to the Community College of Allegheny County is Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. So, and that's December. Let's look at the schedule. If you scroll down. Okay, so Monday, the 7th of December. So I have to submit them by the 9th at 10 a.m. So the real deadline is the 9th at morning light. In order to facilitate your gradual learning of Java, I'm going to encourage you to do the work with us week by week so that you can get feedback on the work you do before you start the next week's work. To the extent possible, I will basically video record me pulling up your repo, your repository of code, and I'm going to give verbal feedback while looking at the code, and then I'll share that with the class. What I found is some students don't really want feedback. They're fine learning from the book, from my examples, and the exercises they do is part of their learning. Other students find that back and forth very helpful. What I found is dedicating a lot of time to giving feedback to everybody at equal levels, and only that person getting the feedback is a lot of time that isn't well spent because it's not shared across the class. So if Sunday comes around and your work isn't ready, don't panic. You don't have to email me. Just do it soon. And if you specifically would like feedback on work that's done outside the schedule, you give me a call and we can pull it up and I'll give you feedback right then. Email is not an effective way for me to give help around coding. The reason for that is it usually requires a couple of exchanges, and that can span days. I don't check email except at deliberate times throughout the week, a couple times a week, not every day necessarily. So getting real-time feedback on work via email is out of the question, and delayed feedback on work over email means that the potential for me to spend 20 minutes writing an email and you've already moved on, unfortunately that 20 minutes is extremely precious. With 6 classes and running another business with CCAC students, my time is at the we're full. I'm full. So that's how the schedule works. And if there's bad links, that would be a case of email use. So let's jump back to our screen share and explore a few more of the tools that will be involved in this class. So as linked on the schedule, I give you a link to our naming triumvirate. So what this means is I've had to invent systems for figuring out how to run what essentially amounts to an open source class, meaning the work you submit is on an online tool that's open to the public. So technically, if someone had the link, they'd be able to see your code. I'm going to ask you to submit photographs of diagrams and work projects, and I don't want you to have to compromise any sensitive information in doing so. So what I'm going to ask you to do is choose for me a public identifier, which for many folks will be your first name. If you have a very common first name, like I do, Eric, you'll want to add a last initial. And for the ability to submit quizzes that aren't point-based, but they are certainly right and wrong, compilers will accept some things and they won't others. So there will be chances to do quiz-like things, and I would like to be able to share those results with the class so that we can talk about what we don't know very well. And in order to do that, I'd like you to choose a code name, a secret code name that only I know, that is mapped to you as someone that anybody else might know. So it's your anonymous identifier. So these 3 names will be submitted using a simple Google form, and it's located both in the schedule here under step 2, name registration form. So when you click that, it's just going to ask you to select which class, your Java async. So I would type Eric Darso because that's what CCAC has, and that's what I have on record, so I can associate it with you as a registered person. This is what you're going to use all the time in the class. You'll never, ever, ever have to use your last name ever again for anything in the class. Don't name your work with your last name. I will check to make sure that your first name or your identifier publicly and your code name are unique. And once they're unique, that's what you use. And then when I take a quiz, I could use a code name like Zorro or Sylvia, and no one would be able to say, that Eric D always getting stuff wrong on the quiz. I want you to be able to do that privately to the extent possible, but I still want to be able to share it to make the course better. So submit this little mapping identifier form that's on the schedule. The next thing we're doing this week, you should take a look at the grading guide. I explained how proposals work. You can watch me from several years ago at West. We'll dig into how Java works later, but you can see how I've organized this class using a diagram, and this will give you a preview. Most of what happens in the next two Java classes will take place over here. Most of the time we get to this. We get to collections and lists. We make it all the way through the snake. You culminate the class in a project related to a subject of your interest, and then we'll do a little extra module at the end. All right, textbooks. After many years, I have finally decided on a textbook. So let's, textbook is the Liang 9, and it's the book that I think runs a lot of college Java programs, and it'll run our Java program as well. So this is the 9th edition, which is not the current edition. So they're currently on 11. So the 9th edition allows you to get this book for cheap. I have a class copy that if you were in person, you'd be able to borrow one from me. And I've never paid more than $40, depending on when I was buying it. It was between $20 and $40 with shipping. So this is the book to get. And the way I've worked on the book is I've gone through every chapter and identified which chapters go with which course, and also which exercises in each chapter are most relevant to your learning. So if you're the book style person, I'm more than happy for you to follow the chapters in the CIT-111 color. So this course mapping, you'll see that I teach 2 more Java classes, CIT-130, Object-Oriented Design, and CIT-244, Object Design 2. So our course only covers about 10 chapters, and they're roughly the first 10. And so if you're the book style person, you would read the core sections, you'd skim through the supplementals, you would give a reflection on the practice questions, and then I identified what I think are reasonable mini projects from among Liang's end of chapter questions. I do not have the key, but interestingly, this book is so popular that if you use a major search engine and type in Liang 9th edition exercise 2.1, you'll probably get dozens of possible responses to those. I'm also happy to work those on a Sunday exercise together, but I'm not going to work them all unless I know someone could use it. So I encourage you to get this book right away, but no need to get it urgently, just promptly, I guess. So there's our textbook. We did name registration form. I'm going to ask you to complete a form that tells me a little bit about yourself. So again, once you fill out the name registration form, you never have to use your last name. The public identifier, your public name, your first name. And then just tell me about what experience you have programming, and also at the end, whatever interests you have outside of programming are fun, because I design projects based on your interest. Okay, that's class keeping. The next step in out-of-class work is setting up your Repo. Repo is a website that allows you to program Java inside a web browser as if you were sitting at a computer running a full-fledged Java environment, which you're welcome to install, but I'm not going to mention that right now. I want us to get started on REPL. The tool that you would download is called NetBeans. You download NetBeans 11 and the Java development environment. And my examples in the tutorials reference using NetBeans. And so what I'm going to attempt to do now is show you that things in REPL are even simpler. So when you get to REPL, your option will be to either jump right in. You can start coding right away and get a Java environment, but that will not be mapped directly to you. So I'd like you to sign up for an account. The best way to do it is to use a GitHub account. If you don't already have one, you could make an account on GitHub, or Google and major social media companies might also allow you to link in. Once you have an account, then you can make a REPL. A REPL is a place to code a specific language. So what you'll see is when I am logged in, so here's me logged in, and good job, it got rid of my session. So here's me logged in, and then I can say new REPL. So a REPL is coding in Java. You might have to scroll down to see Java. So I can say that, and then you call this your public. You could say CIT-111 Eric. If you don't want to share any of your code, I bet it's only $5 or $6, and then you can make a private REPL. But you'll make a REPL, and it's doing a lot of work on the back end. So what we're seeing here is actually a Linux computer that's running over on the right-hand side. So OpenJDK means the open source version of the Java development kit, runtime environment, meaning we can run code over here, and we can see that it's running Java 11 on a computer running the Ubuntu operating system, which I happen also to be running on this laptop, and the version of that Ubuntu is 18.04. So what's fun about REPL is they gave you what is known as the Hello World program of Java, which is the simplest possible Java program. And to run it, you click the Run button. So we've made Java programming that used to take students hours to get everything set up. Now with the click of a little button in a browser, will run your program. And so what you'll see going on over on the right-hand side is a series of commands being issued automatically to this Linux computer running on a server somewhere that we don't know and giving you the output. So we're talking to a computer in what they might say old school command line, and that's where we're going to be for the whole semester, because that's what a computer really does, and all the fancy buttons and stuff are built on top. So we are going one level under so that you become masters of computers instead of their slaves. So you can see what happened is this command java space minus class path space dot colon. This whole thing was designed by the people who made REPL to instruct a Java or a computer to run this program that's composed of 5 lines. And the program does one thing. It creates a line of text that says, hello world, hello world, hello world, something like that, however you want to pronounce it. And the fun thing is you can code over here and then click the green play button and it'll run it. We will get more complicated over time, but that's what you need to know for week 1. So when in my videos I say go to file, run file, you just click the green play button. And so you can see I can tinker with the code, I can duplicate lines, and then changes are saved automatically. I hit the green play button, and now instead of getting 1 hello world, I get hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world. So I get a different output based on the code having changed over here. So there's no save button. The next thing to think about is this is your file browser over on the far left column. And what this will allow you to do is make a file system that we can then run parts of in the rest of the REPL tool. So in NetBeans, in my tutorials, it'll say right-click in your projects, right-click, new package. Well, in our case, a package is just a folder. So making a package is just the same thing as making a folder. I think you call it something like Westward. I think you make the package Westward Adventures. And then inside of that folder, we can open up and add either another folder, meaning a project, or a file. And so we could make a Java file. In NetBeans, it automatically adds the .java extension in REPL, I believe, test name, that it won't. So you can see that you'll need to add the .java at the end so that the REPL knows that it is in fact Java. So once again, the REPL comes with a programming environment that will get you through week 1. And for now, you just have to know to click the green button. If you want to jump ahead and think more rigorously about this tool, what you'll learn is that this is called the bash shell. And we can actually issue commands to it, like tell me what's in your directory. Where are you? You can see that the system made me a home account called CIT-111-Async. Let's see if I can go back up. It did let me go all the way back to my home directory. Can I go all the way out here? Yeah. Ooh, wow. So you get a whole Linux environment that you can manipulate. And so the commands that I was just running are actually located, if you jump down to our website, using REPL guide. So what this shows you is some of the basic commands for seeing what's going on in the directory system. And I'll do a more extensive walkthrough on this, but I just want you to know what you're dealing with, and to the extent that you need it to do the first lesson. So this is the tool we'll use instead of NetBeans. I have found that this is everything that you need in NetBeans at a much lower cost. Cost in terms of time and headaches. NetBeans is free, and so is REPL, but this is set up and easy to run. So when you jump into our content, which is this Module 1, Essential Elements, you'll see I made this several years ago, and so the code snippets are from NetBeans, and my little video tutorials are also in NetBeans. If something is too confusing to do in REPL, don't sweat it. Just make a note of it, and you can either email me about it, or you can call me about it, or you can skip it and say, it's not that important. So I think everything in here will work well in REPL, and if it doesn't, please let me know. So that's our first week. Our schedule here, once again, this gives you a step-by-step guide. Once you've made your REPL, I will ask you to make an entry for that REPL here in this shared Google Doc. You'll use your public first name, and then you'll give me your REPL. So notice everyone else in the class will be able to see your code, so there's no need to use your full name in creating your REPL account if you don't want to. So once you have your link in here, this is how I'll get at your work. I can say control and click on it, and then when I follow this link, I will see all the work that you're doing. And so we'll work together to create this organization of Java code, and we'll learn how to make Java. I think that does it for week 1. And once again, please don't be stuck. If during the class you reach a point of frustration, I would much rather you call me and say, "Yeah, I can't do it anymore. Please help," than for you to wait and build up frustration, because we can usually fix stuff if we know about it before it becomes a crisis. So with that, I welcome you to Java, and we'll unfold our journey together over the next 14 weeks, and I look forward to having you along with. All right, cheers.